Hey, this is FlyWire on the road. I'm at Orchard House Airfield in the UK. It's not far from Lakenheath. Lakenheath is that way, right?
Yep.
Yeah, not too far. We're just on the outside of Lakenheath's airspace here, and look what I found in the hangar. This is tremendous. This is a Bonanza, Aerobatic Bonanza that's one serial number off of mine, and he's got a Steerman too. So stick with me on FlyWire. Hey, I'm Scott Perdue, and today on FlyWire we're talking with Colin Wills. We're at his farm. It's called Orchard
House.
Orchard House, sorry. I just said it right a second ago. How did I screw that up? He's got his own strip, and he's got a hangar with some really cool airplanes in it. So I wanted to first talk to you about because you built this place. How did you do that?
I have always had a passion for flying. It's been in the family. I was brought up on the good old black and white movies, the Battle of Britain and all that kind of stuff. So, I got into flying actually when I was in my 30s, early 30s, and I always wanted to have my own place with its own strip. So you could come out, kick the tires, light the fires, and off you go flying. And it took years and years to eventually find a property that I could afford that had enough land to put an airstrip down. That's a very, very rare beast. And then, of course, you have the hill to climb of planning permission. And, people tend to have objections to have airstrips. And right here, I'm on the border of Norfolk. Norfolk is just over behind the house. This is Cambridgeshire. You've also got the Wetland Wildfowl Trust nearby that have swans coming in. It's a real world famous wildfowl nature place. You have Mildenhall, Lakenheath and Marham. So when we put the planning in, it went to all of these people, and I thought there's no way we're going to get planning for this. Nobody had an objection.
Well, that's awesome.
Which was amazing. Anyway, so we put the runway down. Originally, the runway was further down in a long line, but the guy that I bought the land off, he had this land. I said, look, how about if I pay a little bit more and we change the direction? So now I have the actual runway in the orientation that's in with the prevailing winds. It's perfect. Unfortunately, the fens is renowned for being flat, but I seem to have the only piece of land in the fens that have hills in it. So it's a bumpy takeoff and a bumpy landing.
Bit of a bumpy runway.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's great having your own airstrip. Oh God, it's a joy. Come out of the house, lovely day, want to go flying, pick one of the airplanes, whether it's the Steerman or the Bonanza, or hopefully the Spitfire in a couple of years' time when we get that.
Well, that would be very cool.
It's great. Recently, we've extended it and widened it, so it's now 40 metres wide, 640 metres long. And when we do potentially get the Spitfire here, then we'll probably stick another 300 metres on, and just give us that little bit of extra room. There we go.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So how did you end up settling on F-33C, an Aerobatic Bonanza?
Well, I didn't actually realise that it was an F-33C when I bought it, and I think the guy that sold it didn't realise that he was brokeraging such a rare aeroplane.
That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Because and at the time, I bought it a few years back. Aeroplanes weren't exactly drawing high prices. And I knew the guy well, David from Top Farm. He sold a couple of airplanes for me, and said, look, I want something that's got some legs on it, got a bit of speed. And he said, I know just the airplane that you need. And he knew the chap that was no longer flying it. And he brought it in, and it was only after a period of time that I realised it's an F-33C, which is aerobatic. And I like to fly a bit of aerobatics, and it's well, you have one as well. It's a fantastic bird. It's fun all round. To be able to pull 6G in one of these, and the confidence it gives you when you're going through some bump. It's great. It's great to have.
Yeah, and occasionally you can just do an aileron roll. Yeah, we used to have the thing flying fighters that if you didn't do an aileron roll, it wasn't really a true fighter sortie.
Yeah.
So.
I had I used to fly a pit special from here, and that was when the runway was 500 meters and 20 meters wide, and I used to think to myself, I go up. If I don't do something that slightly scares me, I've not properly flown the aeroplane. So I used to come down. In the end, I thought to myself, what, this thing's going to kill me. So I've got to get rid of it and get something a little bit more, more sedate. So I went and bought a Cap 10B instead, which was a little bit more graceful. But needless to say, that's moved on. They always had the Cap 10B with the wooden spar. I think it was in the States they had a lot where they clamped their wings, but I'm basically pulling too much G with too much weight out of limits, and they were snapping the spars. So all kinds of hoo-ha went on about those spars, and they brought out the Cap 10C, which had a carbon fibre spar, which didn't feel like a Cap 10 anymore.
I bet it did. It was way stiffer, so
yeah.
I'm
Anyway,
sure
so
it handled it.
in the end, I got rid of the Cap 10. And then I went off on my journey to get another aerobatic aeroplane. And I thought to myself, I want to go back to an open cockpit, because there's something about being in the air, getting up there and being in the air. Wanted 2 seats, because it's, one seat gets, after you've,
You can't share it.
You can't share
You need to be able to share the experience.
And as you get older, you become less of the bold pilot, you become more of the old pilot. And it's more about the enjoyment of flying. So we, I ended up with, I looked at them all. I looked at tiger moths, Youngmans, Jungmeisters, all of these kind of aeroplanes. And effectively, you get older, you get a bit of weight on you. And if you and I want to go in a tiger moth, we wouldn't be able to do any aerobatics because we'd be too heavy. We'd be out of limits, or we wouldn't be able to put any fuel in it. Steerman, you can load it up and you can put 2 big guys in there, and off you can go. You're away with it. So the Steerman won hands down, and it's a great aeroplane. I love it.
Yeah, I love the Steerman too. So here's an interesting factoid. You talked about pulling G. This has nothing to do with this conversation, but the Steerman. I love the Steerman. It was the strongest airplane in World War II. You have an idea what the G limits on it were?
No, not
minus 11 plus 9.
Yeah.
So think about that for a second. Why was it minus 11? It's strong because most, like this airplane, is plus
landings.
6, minus 3. Exactly right. It's
Yeah.
student landings are going to be hard,
Yeah.
and when the student landing, that's all negative. A hard landing is a negative G experience. So yeah, it's minus 11 plus 9.
I heard a story, and I don't know whether it's true, but there were some Navy pilots or something way back when, and they wanted to try and break one or something. So they tried to veer and they had difficulty in veering or doing anything with it. They couldn't do it.
Yeah, well, you can point it straight down at the ground, and its terminal velocity is 150 miles an hour. In other words, you're going straight down. You're not going to go faster than that. It's a drag. I mean, it's a pretty draggy airplane.
It is draggy, yeah. You chop the power and it's coming down. Yeah. No, there's no doubt about it. Yeah, no, it's a fantastic airplane, and it has such presence.
Yeah,
You go anywhere in that aeroplane. I go to anywhere of the British airfields. They're all sort of grass strips. They're very much like White Waltham. Maybe a little cafe and stuff like that. You rock up in a Steerman, and you go, "Ooh, look at that!" They're used to a tiger moth, which is small.
Yeah.
Pretty. That thing, you want to fuel it up, you got to go up 2 stories.
That's right.
That is always an education for people. He said, "Where's the fuel tanks up there? How'd you get up there?"
Yeah.
Then you got to climb all over it. That's good. Yeah, a great aeroplane. Indeed, it is.
Yeah. Well, super. So the plans are. You're actually gonna redo the other hangar. There's another hangar here. You're gonna redo that for the Spitfire when it comes.
Yeah. That one possibly. What we probably would do, we'll probably end up leaving the Spitfire down. We'll probably be based down at Enstone. We'll see. But it's a T9, so it's a 2-seater. So we're probably going to leave that down at Enstone and operate. I'll probably operate it down there at Enstone. Enstone in the Bonanza, it's 30 minutes away.
Oh, that's brilliant.
In the Spitfire, it'll probably be 15 minutes away, so it's not going to be, it won't be very long. In the Steerman, it takes about an hour and 10, and if you've got a headwind, then it's 2 hours.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's you know, I think when we get the Spitfire, like I say, we'll extend the runway, we'll make it a little bit longer, and touch and go whether we bring it in here or not. So that hangar will probably end up being for the Steerman, and we'll put some nice blue lights on it with glass sides in it, and
Oh, brilliant!
really show it off as it should be shown off.
Yeah. Well, my house that I used to live in on the air park, I designed it where there was two sliding glass doors put together, and so there was a porch and then a paved area, and then the hangar was right there, and I put the same glass doors there. So at night you could have the lights on, and the Steerman would be right there in the window. So you just look out the den, and there it is.
Yeah.
So.
Everybody loves that Steerman. I mean, I find I want to do more aerobatics in it, but there's not many opportunities that I get to go up there solo. It's often as not we'll have people here at the house, and my wife Faye, she's always saying, can you take so and so flying? Can you do this? Or if I go up, there's always somebody that I have to take flying, and you end up, would you like to do some aerobatic? Oh no, I quite like this. So the local area tends to be as far as you go. But maybe we'll get up and we'll go and do something.
Oh, that'd be nice.
We'll chuck it about a bit.
That'd be nice. Yeah, my dad, my airplane was my dad's, and then after he passed away, I went through his logbooks, and he'd given over 1,300 rides in the Steerman. But unlike you, his rides weren't sightseeing rides. His rides were going upside down. Yeah. So he did that every time. He did, it's like, why are we going to fly in the Steerman if we're not going upside down? Yeah.
I've got some. I recently took all of we had all of my some of my sisters and our cousins, or female cousins. They all came. There's about 6 of them. They all went up in the Steerman. One of them, Jane, my cousin Jane, she was absolutely petrified of flying. And she was kind of like the last one to go up in the aeroplane. Anyway, all of the others we took up and said, look, do you want me to do some tight turns, lazy eights? And they said, no, this is fine, it's beautiful. No, please don't. They didn't want to know, Jane gets in the aeroplane and she goes, everybody came and warned me, she might do something. So I said, look, Jane, to keep your hands on the side so I can see them. All right, I don't want you going, jumping out of the aeroplane. We got airborne. And I said, Jane, do you want me to do a little bit? And she said, yeah, go on then. She was the only one out of all of them that didn't mind it coming up on its back and
awesome.
And she came down. To be fair, her face, because you've got that mirror.
Right, yeah.
I was looking at her, and it was sort of like. But I came down, and it was like, she was the only one that really wanted to. She was the only one that really pushed it. And she was the one that was afraid of flying. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
You never know, do you?
You never know. Yeah, that's great. Well, this is a fantastic setup you have here, and thank you for inviting me out to see your airplanes. It's been raining for days, and we got to see if the runway is dry enough to go fly. But
well, it's because we've extended it. We've got a lot of mud.
Yeah.
Now we've got a lot of funnily enough, we widened the runway at the beginning of the summer. And it hasn't rained for about 3 months, and now the last week, just before you arrived, we've had like weeks and weeks and weeks of it. So it's a wee bit soft and a bit sticky in places.
Yeah.
What we don't want is mud flicking up in the wheel wells. That's
no,
what we're going to avoid. But
that's
it's
a mess.
warm today. It could be drying out. Maybe we'll get the chance to fly.
That'd be great.
Would be good.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for talking to us and showing us your airplanes, and I'm looking forward to go flying. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on FlyWire.